Welcome to the Mythic Tavern, and today we're going to be checking out Windrunner Spire, a brand new dungeon in World of Warcraft Midnight expansion. This is alpha footage, it is not final, this is not final tuned, this is on normal difficulty, it's a level up dungeon, so if you're looking at tuning, disregarded completely, that is irrelevant right now. We are here to show off the dungeon. So, at the start you're gonna go into this big circular room, you're gonna kill a bunch of ghosts and spirits, and they do all these different things, and I think pretty much you just need to heal through them. They will also cast these protective spells on them where they become immune for a few seconds. Can't really show it here, unfortunately, in its full glory because this is on normal difficulty and they die super quickly. Obviously, on Mythic Plus, that's going to be a whole different story. So, yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how all of this is tuned when it's final and the season starts. But such as things, such as Alpha, just gotta take what you can get and enjoy it while it lasts. They do cast spirit bolts, which you can obviously interrupt or, you know, counter spell them with a reflective shield, things like that, and whatnot. Pummel them or whatever, kick them, and things of that nature. Yeah, there's the spell guard. The spell guards cast the protective spell. These guys saw that. It was a big blue shield, and then they're immune for it. And I think the only way you can stop it is probably by stunning them. I don't believe you can interrupt that. So there's that. So this dungeon is a winged dungeon. It has 4 bosses. You can go either left or right at the beginning after you clear that first circular room. There's Emberdawn, who is a Dragonhawk boss, and then there's a Derelict Duo, who is a comprised of a Banshee and Abomination, and that's the boss that we're going to first. So either one of those 2 bosses are basically a first boss. I have no clue which route is going to be optimal for the dungeon in Mythic Plus, but in all honesty, it's probably irrelevant, simply because this dungeon doesn't really have any open-ended spaces to where you can grab certain mobs and certain mobs you can't grab, or you can skip or something like that. Everything is very, very linear here. So think of it like, I guess you could say, Theater of Pain, where it's, you know, a bunch of wings, and pretty much most of the mobs are not skippable except for like maybe 1 or 2 patrols, right? I don't believe there's any patrols here, but yeah, more ghost mobs and undead here, warlocks and poison people and whatnot, shadow bolts, easy stuff to stun, interrupt, nothing crazy. But yeah, so because of that, I don't really think it's gonna be relevant to which wing you take first when it comes to Mythic Plus timing. You know, yeah. Actually, you know, I take that back. It's probably gonna be dependent on the boss. So this Abomination here, he's gonna do a frontal towards the tank. You just have to, you know, face him away from the group. And he also will spit out goo on you and all kinds of nasty stuff. So just watch out for that. And yeah, pretty basic things. And here I'm just grabbing the entire room because everything is falling flat so fast that it's literally irrelevant, and I'm gonna assume that on Mythic Plus, if you do want to, you know, maximize your time, you're gonna do obviously very big pulls. I'm a little bit surprised at how low amount of mobs this dungeon has. I don't know, maybe it just feels that way because we're just trucking through it, but I don't know. Yeah, it felt a little bit low on the mob density, but we'll see about that. Murder Row, on the other hand, definitely does not feel like it's lacking in mob density. Anyway, here's the first boss, and unfortunately, we killed it so fast that you can't see the mechanic here. But basically, it works like Necrotic Wake boss, where you have the hook thing, and you have to focus down the ghost. And eventually, if the ghost is not dead yet, it will do like an ability, and you have to use the Abomination to have the Abomination hook the ghost. And you're not gonna see it in this particular portion of the dungeon. I'll show you the clip right after we kill the boss here immediately, so you can see that mechanic. Because unfortunately, you know, the guy lost it and it just went down super quick. And obviously, also there's another mechanic where you're gonna get these 5 green circles on the entire group, and you just have to kind of spread out tight, and you know, and then move away. On Mythic Plus, this is gonna be fun. I don't know if the goo goes away eventually. I don't remember. It might go away eventually. If it doesn't, then you're gonna have to watch out for the spacing. But yeah, it died so quick that you didn't even get to see the mechanic. Anyway, here's the clip of the mechanics so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Take a look. So there you have it, guys. It's literally exactly the same thing as, you know, the hook from the second boss, or I think it's the second boss in Necrotic Wake. But anyway, after you kill this boss, this dude spawns a teleport for you, and you go back to that circular room, I believe, and then you eventually go to the other side now to fight the Dragonhawk or the Derelict Duo, depending on which path you took. And what I like about this dungeon is that if you don't know where to go, just look for the spirit ghost, and that's basically your guide. Wherever he's standing is where you need to go. And for those who do not know, that is Sylvanas' brother, I believe. Yes, you know, the three sisters do have a brother, so that's a pretty big family. And I'm really liking this dungeon, guys, I'll be honest with you. It's very cool from a lore perspective. You know, me personally, I love Sylvanas. You know, I don't like what they did to her in Shadowlands, but I don't think most people did. But this dungeon is awesome. It's a throwback to the history and the heritage of the Sylvanas family, like, you know, and you kind of get to see a little bit of their background story. It's really cool. I love the design of it. I like the bosses. I like everything about this dungeon, man. The pathing. It doesn't feel too long. It doesn't feel too short. And I think this is going to be one of my favorite dungeons to run in Mythic Plus. I can kind of already tell, just from what I played a little bit of it. Even though, you know, we gunned everything down super fast. But yeah, in this other wing, you fight, like, different things, different type of mobs here. You fight the lynx, for example. It's, like, more animals and spiders, I guess. Yeah, of course you're gonna have spiders, right? How can you not have spiders in a dungeon in World of Warcraft? That's not allowed. You know, to not have spiders. But yeah, they poison you and things like that. Probably gonna be really nasty on Mythic Plus, but in here it's like whatever. It's a level up dungeon. Tuning is literally irrelevant. It's made for XP and that's it. But yeah. So, you know, I'm just grabbing everything in here. I'm gonna assume, honestly, considering how low the mob density is in here, I feel like you could probably pull a lot of these specs, man, on Mythic Plus easy. I mean, if you look at a dungeon like Arakara right now, you're pulling, like, a whole load of packs that are very dangerous. And, compared to Arakara, the mobs in here are a lot more tame. Very basic mobs. You know, Arakara has those mini-bosses, and yeah, I think it's one of the hardest dungeons I've probably ever done on Mythic Plus. But anyway, yeah, so far, as far as spellcasting goes, I want to say that it seems to be a lot more tame in these dungeons. I mean, I've obviously only done this dungeon in Murder Row, because that's the only thing that's available on Midnight Alpha right now. And thanks to Blizzard for inviting me, I appreciate that. Shoutouts to them. But yeah, like, the casting mobs in here are, like, either a lot lesser, or they're just not as aggressive, I don't know. But I know what Blizzard did say, actually, not too long ago. They did confirm that they're going to be tuning down casters in Mythic dungeons, simply because there's just too much spam. And your interrupts are now going to be interrupting them for 5 seconds instead of 3, which is huge. You know, 2 seconds is a pretty big timer. So here's another boss, the Emberdawn Dragonhawk. Very basic. You know, he does like a big attack. I guess that if you're on Mythic Plus, you'll probably want to maybe throw a defensive for that. But the big thing that he does here is he's doing this Burning Gale, where, you know, he's like letting out this big wind and the gusts of this fire wind, tornadoes going at you. And then there's like little firestorms going off that you have to avoid. Basically, this is the boss of do not stand in fire. If you see red, get away from it. Pretty basic. And of course, you know, this is being a normal dungeon. We do not have the Mythic mechanic on here because it's not on Mythic difficulty. So whatever there is on Mythic difficulty is going to be in Mythic Plus. That's a video for another day. And when the time comes to actually do guides for these dungeons. But yeah, man, this was an okay boss. I think I like the other one better. The Derelict Duo. This one is pretty much a tank and spanked. At least in the Derelict Duo, you have some sort of a mechanic to do, which is, you know, the hook thing. But, you know, that's besides the point. I'm sure that in Mythic and Mythic Plus, whatever they add, it's gonna make the encounters a bit more dynamic and more interesting. You know, normal dungeons are just very boring in terms of challenge. They're not made for that. So, yeah. Anyways, after you clear those two, you're gonna be heading over to Commander Kroluk. And at this point, this is where the dungeon becomes completely linear. After you kill the third boss, you immediately go to the fourth boss, which is the Restless Heart. And spoiler alert, it is, I believe, Sylvanas herself. Now, these mobs are a little bit more interesting. This hawk charges, and I believe these soldiers or archers also let out volleys that you have to stand away from on the ground. And you can see the little symbols on the floor where the volley is gonna land. So, yep, there's the little circles, and then there's the big rectangular thing line showing you where the hawk is gonna charge to. So just avoid that. Yeah, more interesting mobs, I guess, than those regular casters at the beginning. A bit more involved. And now, all of a sudden, when you get here, you're gonna see these evil red spirits. And basically, from what I understood, this is the old horde. Like, the old school horde that you're fighting, which is really cool. So, these mobs here, they like to do their whirl thing. I believe it's called Gore Whirl. And I can assume... or I'm going to assume that on Mythic Plus, it's going to be really nasty if you're standing that. And then you have your Mystic Ogres that are casting Chain Lightning that needs to be interrupted or Spell Reflected and whatnot. And they also cast Bloodlust on themselves, I believe. They just, like you saw a little bit earlier, they just died too quick. But there was a Bloodlust going off. Anyways, once you enter this room and you clear this last pack here, you're going to be fighting the boss. Yep, there's the Chain Lightning that interrupted. Yeah, and this guy just... and then he's casting the Bloodlust. He didn't even get to cast it because he just died too fast. And then you wait a few seconds for, I believe, RP. And then the old horde Commander Kroluk comes out. And then you just fight him. This boss is pretty basic. It's basically like, you know, a war chief. He goes on a rampage, which is probably where you want to pop your defensive cooldowns if you're a tank. Like I am here. Obviously, this is on normal, so that's irrelevant. And then he does this rallying signal. You need to get away from that. I didn't because I'm stupid. And then he summons these spectrals, axe throwers, and grunts, and things like that. And basically, you need to kill. And when he summons them, he doesn't take a lot of damage, I believe. You need to kill the ads, and he also goes into this berserk whirlwind mode. He's basically, you know, a warrior on steroids. Pretty cool boss. Gonna be probably difficult on Tyrannical, I would assume. You know, with all the health and all the mobs that are running around. So you're going to have to nuke them down really quickly. It's going to be fun, man. I'm super excited for the Mythic Plus version of this dungeon. I really like it. And I hope that I'm doing a decent job of showcasing this to you. You know, I just wish it was a little bit harder so you can see some of the mechanics more. But it is what it is. And then you talk to the... you click on the portal and then you fight the Windrunner, I believe, herself. I think... or I believe, rather, that this is Sylvanas right here. And in my opinion, I think this is a very good fight. It is pretty awesome, and you'll see why. So in here, we're actually going to see all the mechanics for her. So yeah, it's Restless Heart. That has to be Sylvanas. I mean, you know, it's a bow and things like that, right? So first she tries to stab you, you know, and then she is going to start doing a rain of arrows. Now, these arrows are very special, because if you step on them, you're going to get knocked up. And there's a reason for that you'll see later in this fight. She does this gust of wind thing, and then you just kind of want to... I'm not sure if that lightning thing is coming from the shaman or from her. I think it's yeah, I think it's from the shaman. Yeah, she's gonna fire off in a different direction with the bolt gales. And then eventually, what's gonna happen is she's gonna go to the other side here in a second, I believe. Yep. And she's gonna cast this wind thing that's coming from behind us, and you have to time it. So you wait by the arrow, and then you jump on it, and you get on it, and then you get knocked up to avoid the wind gale. This is gonna be a pug stomper, I guarantee you, dude. Most people are just gonna die to that, like, super easy and have no situational awareness whatsoever. But that is the fight for Restless Heart, and that is the Windrunner Spire, guys. One of the first dungeons that I've done in Midnight Alpha. As far as the feedback goes, I think it's very fun. Cool boss design. Nice mobs that are not super annoying and, you know, kind of fair. Yeah, and I like the wing design, and I cannot wait to play this in Mythic Plus. But what's more important is you guys let me know what you think about this dungeon in the comments. That is pretty much it for Windrunner Spire. Make sure to check out the other video, Murder Row Tour Guide. Peace out, guys, and have a good one.